I'm glad to hear that having, successfully funded, written, had your book edited and arted, you will no longer need to worry about said book in any way, shape, or form, and it has all been a nice, relaxing vacation for you since then.
Oh my God. I don't even want to talk about it. At this point, I have talked extensively about it in Discord, on my Patreon, on the Kickstarter page. To anyone who is standing still long enough, you have heard about it more than you ever wanted to.
I need to know these things.
Just keeps running away now. She won't stand still very long. So
it's going that well.
Well, as of a half hour ago, the order has been submitted to the printer.
Hooray.
And it's basically no longer my problem.
Also, hooray.
Now I'm just waiting for the Pacific Ocean pirates to attack the cargo ship on the way here and steal my book.
I believe it's traditional for Godzilla.
Okay. Well,
to cause some sort of problem.
That's more of a Japanese thing. We're printing.
I understand that, but they have to kind of go through the whole, they got to go near Japan, and Godzilla's always around there somewhere. So
isn't there
that'll probably be what it is.
No, like Journey to the West will take the book, right? He was a guy.
Oh yeah, that guy.
That was the one piece of Chinese folklore that just keeps getting republished over and over again.
You're suggesting that Monkey will somehow interfere.
He was the one with the magic staff from the wind god, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
I think I played the video game one where he was a robot or Triptococcus or whatever her name was a robot.
Yeah. No. I played that one too. That's a good one. That's a good one.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was. I enjoyed the heck out of that. How dare you? That's Enslaved.
Yeah, Odyssey to the West.
Odyssey to the West. Yes. Yeah. I liked that so much that I played it over a year ago, and it is still installed on my system.
Really? I'm surprised.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. And, Andy Serkis is in it there at the end.
Andy Serkis?
Mm-hmm.
Who's that?
Gollum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because he owns the company that made it.
Does he?
Yeah.
I thought China made it. Because it's it's Journey to the West, isn't it?
No, just stop.
I'm so confused.
If we're going to go down the only countries that own the mythology can make games about it, then we have a huge other problem to deal with.
I have been led to believe that if you make anything out of another country's mythology, that is literal theft.
Ah, well then that God of War thing has a humongous problem.
Did you ever play Ico? Speaking of Journey to the West.
Ico?
Yeah.
ICO,
yes.
I have not.
It was very interesting. It basically it was Journey to the West, but much more charming and without everything that wasn't escorting a princess.
Oh, okay.
The entire game was just one big escort quest.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the first and last time in a video game where that was okay. It actually worked.
All right.
Yeah. That's an interesting game. It was the prequel to Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah.
No, wait. I'm sorry.
to?
Shadow of the Colossus was the prequel to Ico.
Was it?
Sort of. In sort of the same way that Prometheus was the prequel to Alien.
Oh, right. Okay. All right.
It's like somebody has to tell you that or you wouldn't know. It's like, oh, really? Because it doesn't seem like these are the same thing at all.
No. I almost played part of Shadow of the Colossus.
Shadow of the Colossus was a neat game.
Was it?
That's
good.
Yeah,
I got to the first beastie, and for some reason, I can't remember what it was exactly, but all the controls were jacked up and whatnot, and I couldn't get anything accomplished, so I just put it down.
Oh.
I don't know what that was all
about.
Huh. Yeah. Oh, well. Another gaming classic I have failed to play. By now, that's de rigueur.
Speaking of games and
yes?
desperately changing the topic because I don't want to talk about the book anymore. Ever.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I hear you were playing some games in Canada like it was a month ago at this point, wasn't it? 3 weeks.
It was 2 weeks ago.
Oh, it's only been 2 weeks?
It just seems like 3 weeks to you.
Yeah.
Because you've had extra long weeks, apparently. I don't know. It's more hours in your weeks than there are in mine.
No, there aren't. That was the problem. If there were.
Yeah. No, I went to Canada, Vancouver, British Columbia, which is a place within Canada. It's the Britishest of Columbias. And we attended the SHUX, that is short for Shut Up and Sit Down Expo. Shut Up and Sit Down being a webcast dealing with board games and stuff. It's built up quite a following over the years, etc., etc., etc. Game reviews, that kind of stuff. Anyway, they decided Vancouver was a place they were going to do their convention, and they chose Vancouver, I believe, because it was the current location of one of them, and it was also had enough facilities for a large convention, even though they aren't particularly running a large convention. Basically, this is their second year. First year, they invited 500 people. And by invited, I mean sold tickets too. And this year, they invited 1,500 people. So sold tickets to 1,500 people. And my brother decided that we were going to go do that. So he got tickets and he arranged the travel and where we were staying and all that kind of stuff. And so we went. Yes, I had to go all the way to Canada to get any board games played at all. Which basically means I spent 2 days running Star Wars beginner adventures for interested parties.
At the board game convention?
At the board game convention. I know. Subtly corrupting them. But they had a whole RPG room, and if I hadn't been in it a couple of times, there wouldn't have been anybody in there anyway. So we did that. And that part was fine. I enjoyed Vancouver a lot, I have to say. Nice
city?
It's a very nice city. Very nice. Very, very kind of, it doesn't demand anything of you while you're there. Mm-hmm. You know, like we went to Indianapolis, okay? And there was all this, all this traveling and planning and, planning to travel. And then when you get to the city itself, it's got, it places certain demands on you just by nature of being Indianapolis, right?
Right.
Okay. It's, things about heat and humidity and things about the press of people and the way the traffic goes. And just getting around in Indianapolis is kind of a problem you need to take into account when you're there.
Right.
Even if you are just across the street from the convention center. Jerks.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but Vancouver is a totally different thing. Vancouver, the area of Vancouver we were in, which was downtown on the waterfront, basically.
Mm-hmm.
The area of Vancouver we were in is designed for people to get around in it on foot.
Huh.
Okay? And that is a totally different experience from a city designed for people to get around in it by car.
Right.
Two totally different things. So Vancouver was very nice, did not place any real demands on you in terms of being in Vancouver or being in Canada or anything like that. And it was just a very nice and relaxing opportunity to get away from everything, which was only slightly spoiled by SHUX itself.
Huh. I'm sorry to hear that.
It's, it's okay. It's a great convention, I suppose, if doing nothing but playing board games is what you want to do all day for 4 days. And I realize that sounds attractive, but you have to understand how literally they take it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? There are no real other activities planned.
No, like presentations or...
They have some presentations, but they're minimally attended, and they're of minor interest, at least for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's fine. Whatever. People went to them. People were interested in them. But by and large, they were not interesting to my brother or I or a large number of other people. They are very literal about you will come here to play board games. And so we will make it easy for you to play a lot of board games, non-stop board games, by not having anything else to interrupt that process.
Wow. Okay.
Okay? You go to our library, you can check out any one of 1,000 games or whatever it was. And you can sit down and you can play that. And when you're done playing that one, you can play another game. And when you're done playing that game, you can play another game. And when you're done playing that game, just for a change, you can play another game. And that starts to wear, okay? It's fine if that's exactly what you want to do. No problem. This is your convention. That was not exactly what I wanted to do every single day that I was there.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I went through the what passed for the dealer hall, which is understandably a lot of I don't want to say smaller, but less well-known publishers, along with some well-known publishers. I mean, what is it? Asmodee was there with their fleet of publishers. So you had FFG and AEG and a bunch of others. And there was a lot of demo, and there was a lot of, check out this game, and there was a lot of not selling games at the booths because they're in Canada, and most of them were American publishers. And so taxes and, all those kind of international sort of law things being what they are, it was more of a hassle to set up to sell things yourself than it was to simply contact one of the local board game stores, have them order up, and then sell at the event itself, which is what they did, which is fine. That certainly made things a lot easier in terms of dealing with people and various, local taxes and that kind of thing. But it did leave the booths feeling like they were just there to demo things, which is what they were. And they weren't particularly concerned with selling you anything, and even that's not quite right. There was just a different feel to it. All right. Their focus was different, I guess. They were more interested in getting as many demos done as they could, as opposed to sitting and talking about things going on. But here's the other half of the problem. Yeah. I saw a lot of games there that would be interesting.
Oh, really?
Okay. I did see some very interesting games, things I would like to try out and play and all that kind of stuff. But the problem is I can't get them, because I would say 85 to 90% of the games there were all coming soon to Kickstarter.
Oh.
Yeah. Which is fine, I suppose. But on top of that, okay, so now I know this game is coming soon to Kickstarter, right? I'm interested in it. Whatever Game X is, I'm interested in it.
Sure.
It's coming soon to Kickstarter. Great. Do you have a brochure or a business card or something on this game I can remind myself with?
No, you just remember it. If our game is worth it to you, you remember.
There you go. And that is the problem. It's like that first day I was there, nobody had anything they could hand me and say, yes, here, remember this. So I ended up taking pictures of almost everything I thought was mildly interesting, just in case. Okay. So if you look on my Twitter, there's a whole lot of pictures in the Twitter timeline for about, by the time you listen to this, it'll be 3 weeks ago. Of various games I thought were interesting and fun to look at. But the premier thing at SHUX was not SHUX. It was Vancouver. Vancouver's an amazing city. I would happily go back there again. Vancouver is a reason to go to SHUX, but SHUX is not a reason to go to Vancouver. That's where we end up with all this. I had a fun time. We had a great time. We left early on Sunday morning, even though the convention still had a day to go, because by Saturday evening, we were both like, yeah, we've done everything we wanted to do, in terms of the convention.
Right.
And there was a lot of stuff to look at and see on the way out and whatnot. But it was just kind of a convention. It was there. It's great if that's what you get. Believe me, if that is exactly what you want to do, 72 hours of nothing but board games, go to SHUX. That's the place to go. That is its focus.
Well, I will be honest, because we had not discussed this yet, because we were holding this discussion so that we could have it here.
Right.
So that other people could listen in. And when you gave me your initial impression, it left me feeling like you had had a much worse time than you are now suggesting. So yeah. I'm glad that it was more positive than that, because I really did want you to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I had a great time. And the great time I had almost nothing to do with SHUX. That's the way it worked.
Right.
You know, it was my brother and I for a little over a week. You know, we hung out, we went to SHUX, we hung out some more. That was fine. I had a good time doing that. But like I said, most of that was Vancouver. Vancouver itself was amazing, and we had an amazing hotel. We were at, I think, the Pinnacle, something like that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And we got to watch the float planes come in and out, and the little helicopter tours go around, and had a great view out across the, whatever it is there, the bay or whatever, the other side, and it was just gorgeous. We had a great time doing that. But we got back to where my brother lives, which is in Salem, Oregon, kind of. We took a day to ourselves, well, a day and a half to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tuesday night, the day before I came back, I got a hold of the One Tar, Tiffany.
Yeah.
She does board game reviews and whatnot. And she lives up in Portland, which is about an hour away from Salem.
Mm-hmm.
And we went up there to a place called Game Nights, KNIGHTS, Game Nights Lounge, and I had more fun playing board games there than I had at SHUX.
Oh,
because it's like a board game cafe.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, we had fun.
Good.
Played some interesting games. And while I was there, at my brother's place, he purchased at some point Diablo 3. And idly one day while I was just sitting there, I picked up his PlayStation controller and went through his library of games and whatnot, and came across Diablo 3. And I had heard some bad things about Diablo 3.
Really?
You know, like it wasn't up to snuff. You know, it wasn't like the other Diablos and all that kind of thing, which, whatever.
No, fair enough. It is different.
Yeah. But so I tried playing it, and I noticed as I was creating my character that they had this thing called is it the Witch Doctor?
Yeah, there's I think actually it's been a long time since I did Diablo 3. I think it was Witch Doctor.
Yeah, something like that. Now, how they didn't get yelled at up and down about this, I don't know, but that's beside the point. The Witch Doctor is the funniest class to play as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Because there's nothing it does that is obvious and standard.
Wait, is that the one that's like all summoning and stuff?
Oh yeah.
Like you have giant spiders or something.
Yeah, you can have giant. You throw jars of spiders. You launch frogs at people. These are your basic attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, you can summon these hellhound kind of things, I guess, whatever they are. Plus, you can summon a giant zombie. Plus, you can later on summon a bunch of bats and all kinds of things. And it's just hilarious to play.
Don't some of the zombies explode or something?
Yes. I laughed and laughed and laughed playing that. I have never had such a funny time playing a game as I did with Diablo 3's Witch Doctor. So much so that first of the month, I'm probably going to get Diablo 3 just so I can keep playing the Witch Doctor.
Oh.
Hilarious.
Tiny and I were playing it co-op for a little while.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think I was playing a barbarian.
Really?
Or she was the barbarian. And I was the crusader. Yeah, that's right.
Cool.
Yeah. Crusader, right? That's the like cleric-y paladin-y class.
You know, that sounds right to me.
Yeah, because that's always where I go. My first time playing a game, if there is a paladin or cleric type class, then that's always where I land.
Yeah. Well, Witch Doctor is like the right thing for me, because when I have the summons going, which by level 5 or 6, you've got enough going on that you don't actually have to fight. You can just walk through areas and your stuff will take care of it for you. Which is exactly how
it's your ideal game, because you don't really have to play it.
That's right. I don't have to do anything. I just walk around and pick up the goods. Oh, and he's got some little pet thing. Some bonus little thing. It's like a like a tricked out carrier from StarCraft.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the human carrier thing that they eventually upgrade to?
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those. It follows him around as a pet. Its only job is to run out and collect all the gold that drops. And then bring it back to you. So I'm doing even less. Even less.
No, if only there was some way you didn't have to push right on the thumbstick to
I
move to the
know.
next screen.
It'd be great. But I had so much fun with it. My brother sacrificed one of his USB drives to give me the save files that I had made while I was doing that. So when I get it, I can just install it off of that and it'll be fine. That'd be great. So I had a good vacation. I had a good time. I'm not saying SHUX is a bad show. It just wasn't what I expected, I guess. Somehow I expected something a little more than just playing games, and that was my fault for not taking them very literally. So there you go. Okay. I don't even know where to start with this. All right. So I'm assuming you're done with Elite Dangerous.
Right.
And
right. Some time ago.
Right. And I'm assuming you have somehow finished.
To be fair, I am waiting for the next update on Elite Dangerous to drop, and then I'm going to jump back in and change it to play it a little bit more.
Uh-huh.
And if it has dropped, then that's because I got distracted.
Right.
So,
okay. All right. That's fine.
Yeah.
And then you bailed on Conan Exiles.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. So what are you playing now?
So Hollow Knight finally hit the PlayStation 4.
Uh-huh.
Because Hollow Knight was a game that I wanted as soon as I heard about it, I knew I wanted it. But it was only on the PC and Xbox, and I don't play games on the computer. And I can't use an Xbox controller because that controller is just horrible. It's like wrestling with a marshmallow and the thumbsticks are in the wrong place.
Okay. All right.
So I hate an Xbox controller. So I can't play like Tiny brought her Xbox into the I brought the PlayStation 4 into the relationship, and Tiny brought the Xbox One. Is that what we're on now? Xbox One?
Xbone? Yeah.
Yeah, she brought her Xbone. And I can't play the damn thing because I cannot use that controller.
Okay.
So, which is also keeping me from getting Cuphead, by the way, which is another game I would love to get, but I can't.
Yeah, that does seem like it'd be your kind of thing. Really.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, someone told me that Hollow Knight hit PlayStation 4 in late September or something. And so I immediately ran off and bought it and it's like, I guess I've been playing it now for a week, and it's like I'm just stealing an hour here and an hour there when I need a break because I have not had much time.
Right.
For, various reasons.
Aforementioned reasons, yes.
Yeah. But I also haven't been sleeping a whole lot, so that does expand your video game time.
Sure.
And I was laid up for a couple of days because I had
Right.
And the doctor hasn't even told me what I had.
I mean, honestly, you don't have to excuse yourself. We've all been there.
Yeah. So, anywho, wait. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm also slow on the uptake right now.
Uh-huh.
No, I had a lung infection.
Yeah.
But it was of concern because it wasn't good. Like I started with a cold. Mm-hmm. And then it started advancing into my lungs. And I'm like, okay, I have bronchitis. Mm-hmm. And because of the move and changing states, and because I had insurance through a state marketplace, changing insurance was a pain. And so, like, my insurance just had started kicking in, which is like, great. So I go to the doctor. I went to the doctor. He listened to my lungs. And he says, how long have you been sick? I said, about a week and a half now. And he said, all right, well, you're past the point where this is going to clear up on its own, and your lungs sound really bad. So I'm going to put you on this antibiotic, and I'm going to get you an inhaler, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And if you don't start to feel better within a couple of days, you have to call the office because we have to get a chest x-ray. So I don't know what he heard down there.
Marching band.
But I resolved myself to, even if I was not feeling better, not calling him, because I would rather just die than go back into the hospital or anything else again.
Okay.
But
that's unreasonable, but all right.
Yeah, I'm done, man. I'm a DNR right now. That's it.
Okay. All right.
If I get too winded, coming up the stairs, I just want them to let me die at this point.
All right. Okay.
So anyway, wait, what the heck was I talking about? How did I get on this? Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight, yes.
So I did get to put in some time with Hollow Knight because I wasn't moving off the couch for a day or two. Right. And then the book fell apart. So
sure.
Anywho, Hollow Knight it's you would hate it.
Oh, good.
Because it's a side-scrolling platformer exploration-based game. So it's, colloquially known as a Metroidvania.
Oh, one of those.
Which means pick a direction in the giant open world map and keep walking that way until you hit a dead end. Then go in another direction until you hit a dead end. And then
this is the one with the guy with the shovel, right?
No. That's Shovel Knight, sir.
Oh, that would make sense why they called that then. Which
also amazing game.
Okay.
Love that to death. Hollow Knight is very much in the vein of the Metroid games. Except you are an insect.
You're an insect.
I don't know, because it's also that's the thing now, that games can't just tell you what's going on.
Oh.
Right? Because it's all got to be environmental storytelling and unearth the mystery and stuff. So I have only recently become to suspect that I am not actually the Hollow Knight. I'm not even the titular character. So anyway, you are an insect. You are a cute little bug. And the animation is gorgeous. It's all very it's very pretty cel-shaded animation. They use a really beautiful, the color palette in the game is very limited, but in an aesthetic way. And each area of the game has one, most of the game is fairly grayscale. It's washed out to the point where it's mostly gray. But each particular area of the map, because it is a big open world map, it's all interconnected. Each one has one other color that they use in the art. And so every area has just because of that color, has its own tone and mood, and it's done really well. The art direction was amazing. Cool. Yeah. And otherwise it's just wander around, get new abilities, it's a side-scrolling platforming exploration game. So eventually you have the high jump and you have the air dash and you have the little teleport strike and all that stuff, slightly different abilities. And you wander around and you are an insect, and apparently you come to the remains of the insect kingdom, because once upon a time there was an insect kingdom, and the insect kingdom is in all these ruins that are built far below the ruined village that is only occupied by one creepy guy, naturally. And then you start exploring these ruins and discover the story of the insect ruins. And
what kind of insect are you?
It is not clear. I think
because I'm wondering if the conclusion you're leaning towards is that you are in fact wandering around inside a Hollow Knight. In other words, it's a dead knight or something.
There is an indication that the Hollow Knight is buried underneath the city. And it somehow, and there are three other, I don't know. Okay. It doesn't tell you anything, but you keep finding all these graves and monuments and stuff, and they all have all this poetry about, the sleeper dreams and builds us a path of greenness. And, this is how we know the Pale One resides here. All this stuff that makes absolutely no sense. You appear to be some sort of little beetle.
Oh, a beetle.
I think you're a little beetle.
I'm going to go with my interpretation because that sounds cool.
With those little sharp horns.
Right. A stag beetle.
Yeah, probably a stag beetle. Not or stag beetle. Wait, is the stag beetle the one with the one face horn? No. Yeah, right, you are like a stag beetle. Right. Yeah, I'm looking at it. You are definitely a stag beetle. I just pulled up pictures.
Okay.
But they clearly also like purposely made the other insects look like actual insects, because I have encountered things that are recognizably moths and mantises. And so there are different species of insect, and they all seem to be organized into tribes. Like, I killed the lords of the Mantis Kingdom. Not killed, but fought them because they wanted to fight me. And now all the Mantis people like me.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, they bow to me when they see me instead of fighting me.
That's weird.
Apparently there's some kind of warrior culture. So once you beat their leaders, it's, well, I guess you're king now.
Seems odd and easy at the same time.
It was not easy. I had to beat 3 Mantis lords at once. And then they gave me their little claw that lets me jump off walls. So I can do little wall jumps.
Oh, nice. All right. So you did that. Hollow Knight, you think it's pretty good?
Yeah, I am loving it. Like, I'm loving, but I got to be clear, because there are people who treat this game like it's the second coming.
Oh.
Okay? Here's the thing. It is a very, very well done game that does not do anything new. Okay?
Well, I'm sure you've upset people just now.
I don't care. The truth of the matter is, if you distilled all of those Metroid games and Castlevania games and all the other side-scrolling exploration-based platformers down to their essence, and then tried to make the perfect expression of those games, Hollow Knight would be pretty close. Because I'm not saying it's perfect.
Right.
But it also breaks no new ground.
Well.
And it's also a little overloaded. Like, there's just it's a little bit too big, and there's a little bit too many things that they want you to find. Like, people keep telling you, oh, now if you go through and you can find the 3 magic flames, and then you can unlock the flame thing. And then there's like, oh, with this dream cutting knife, you can open the world of dreams and kill these 7 ghosts that are hidden around the map. It's like, okay, can we just, have just the main story? But I think part of that is because the version I got includes all the DLC.
Oh. And
so I think they just kept adding crap all around. Just like, now let's hide 5 more bosses in the map. Okay. So I can't tell what was the original game and what wasn't. But I do love it. It scratches all of my exploration-based, side-scrolling platformer itches.
All of your itchiest itches.
And the controls are tight, man.
Well,
they are so responsive. One of the you have a number of different moves that allow you to kind of like maneuver through the air, like dash through the air and jump off walls and do like charges through the, like, there's a couple of different aerial maneuvers, and you can string them together if you're really good at them and there are some optional areas that are basically just gauntlets of, okay, now can you use all of your aerial maneuvers to get through this room that is all just spikes with nowhere to stand and walls to bounce off of and moving bugs and stuff. And they are like, they're not easy, but when you finally nail it and you can just like zigzag through this room without touching the ground, it really feels good.
Oh, good.
And they nailed that.
I'm glad to hear you're enjoying it. There's one other thing I want to cover before we depart into the land of feedback.
Sure.
I finished the beta edit of Transit.
Congratulations, sir. That's big.
Yes, that is.
Yeah.
Now it goes out to a very, very select group of testers and readers and players.
So invitation only kind of thing?
Yes, invitation only kind of thing.
In other words, don't email you. And
That's right. Do not email me. If you haven't got it already, you're probably not on that very small list. But don't feel bad about it, because that very small list is very, very specialized. And any edits and changes that get made from here on out are only changes towards a final printable project. They are not towards an additional beta or anything like that.
I imagine that they're all fairly small changes at this point, just minor.
I'm thinking that will probably be the case. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So don't feel bad if you're not on that list. Just know that the game is being perfected even further. or more closely perfect. I don't know how would it's approaching perfectness. It will never achieve it, but it's approaching it. It's in that direction.
The limit of transit as transit approaches perfection.
Yes, exactly. So it looks like it's going to be a thing. It will be a thing sometime next year. Early on, I hope.
Hey, if you have designs on publishing a physical book, don't. Don't ever.
Change your mind immediately. Yeah, I know.
Do you know Button Shy Games?
Button Shy Games. They sound familiar.
Yeah, they mostly publish very small games. And when I say that, I mean like physically small. They publish like card games mostly.
Okay.
And what they're mostly known for is what they call wallet games.
All right.
Which are, they're card games that have a small number of cards, usually like 20 or 30 cards, and they come in a little plastic billfold like you would have in your pocket.
Sure.
So, I happened to see that they had a game on Kickstarter a couple of months ago, and I backed it, and it's called Super Tall, and it's just a cute little, it's a card game about building buildings.
Okay.
You just lay down cards and score them to add floors to your little tower. It's got a very like tiny tower aesthetic to it.
Yes.
It just arrived in the mail the other day, which means they fulfilled very quickly, and it's pretty awesome. So
cool.
So I just wanted to give a shout out to actually to Button Shy Games in general. It doesn't look like Super Tall is on their website yet, which makes sense because it literally just shipped from Kickstarter. But check out their stuff. I also got, I think, their storyteller cards because they do some game reference. I think that was theirs. Yeah, storyteller cards was theirs.
That was from a few years ago, right?
Yeah. And that's a neat little game generation aid that also has a little game built in. So you like pull a card and it's got a room type and a character type and an item and a location. The art is adorable. And so you could use them like if you were looking for inspiration to build like a dungeon adventure or something, or populate a world with NPCs.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Are they sponsoring the show?
No, they're not.
Oh, okay. This is just your own free recommendation.
This is just, I got one of their products. I like it. And I like to call attention to companies that actually sell nice things.
Awesome.
Instead of what we usually do, which is complaining about companies we used to love.
Feedback, sir.
Do we have some of that?
We have some. We have received an amount, and frankly, we got a pretty healthy amount because it's been a couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, it has.
Yeah,
it's been like 10 weeks since I was here, isn't it?
10 weeks. Yes, exactly. That's the number precisely.
Well, you and Leslie finished like 2 books in that time, didn't you?
I know. And the less said about that, the better. Moving smoothly.
Man,
along.
I am glad I got out of that book club thing when I did.
Wow. Citizen asked in the comments on episode 52 if there were a version of D&D or whatever system that had living rules that were frequently, say 1 or more times per month, being slightly adjusted by the publisher. Would you consider that a feature or a bug to your experience? My first question would be, if they need to adjust these rules 1 or more times a month, why didn't they just say wait another 5 months to publish and then get those all out of the way ahead of time?
Yeah, it is okay to stop writing a game once you're done with it. Yeah. You know, like this is the thing, like it would depend heavily on what they were doing with it. Okay, because on the one hand, like I don't want them constantly fixing the game. You know, like just let the game stand.
Right.
Nothing is so. I mean, because I will remind you that this. Okay, this is what's really crazy about it, right? if you go back to the old editions of, say, Dungeons & Dragons, those editions lasted for a long time.
Right.
You know, like Advanced Dungeons & Dragons was 10 years before we got second edition. And that was another 10 years before we got third. No, it was more like 12 years before we got third edition.
Right.
And third edition was 8 years before we got fourth edition.
Right.
Right. And then fourth edition was the first one where they really just started actively, constantly putting out errata. And they were putting out errata once a month. And that edition lasted what? Like 5 years? Not even. It was like 3 or 4 years. No.
Actually,
no, it was 5 years.
Yeah, you might want to recount that.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. It was about 5 years. It was released in 2007, and they announced the death of it. It must have been 2012 when they announced that they were moving to 5th edition.
Do you want to? You really want to check those numbers?
I really do now.
Okay. I will give you time to check them.
Yeah.
Because I think you can be even more surprised than that.
Okay. So, no. Okay, so I was basically right. The third edition was 8 years. And then the fourth edition was 6 years before the release of D&D. But what we have to remember is that they announced that they were killing fourth edition a year and a half before fifth edition came out.
Okay. I'll grant you that.
So this is what I'm basing these numbers on. Okay. My point is that these games lasted a long time without them constantly needing to be tweaked and changed. You know, so if this is what they're doing, if they're constantly fixing the game, then I'm with you. They really need to just like spend more time making the game right the first time. And also, maybe we also need to accept that the game doesn't have to be perfect, and every tiny little detail someone finds does not require the whole game to be fixed. Just because one person does not understand the difference between an unarmed attack and a weapon attack, that doesn't mean we need to revisit it in errata 7 times. Okay? Right. Some people are stupid. They will work through that because they have clearly figured out how to work through that because they're still managing to like get through a day without choking to death.
Right.
Okay. So we don't.
It's an important life skill, people.
Yeah. If they are using those updates instead to add content, as in like free DLC type patches that you get with video games, I'm okay with them putting out free content that you can or cannot add to the game. But this is the thing. I really don't want to like what I'm really curious about. So they put out these errata files, right? And you can go through and do what with them? Does anybody out there? Okay, this is the question for the week.
Oh, good.
With the stupid errata files for D&D and Pathfinder and all the other games, when they put them out, how many of you actually print those things out and keep them with your core book and then actually take that into consideration? Or,
sadly, I did.
Okay, how many people aren't, Brian?
but I only did that. I only did that up until I think the end of the first 6 months or so. Well, just because, to my mind, the first 6 months is when unintended errors are going to creep in.
Yes.
Okay, so you're not so much introducing entirely new rules. You're cleaning up any mistakes that did actually turn up in them.
Yeah, but
so
again, how important is it?
It just depends on your table. Ultimately, it wasn't important to my table, and so I stopped. And then I ran out of a table, so who knows?
Like, the thing is, like, especially with role-playing games, where the whole conceit of a role-playing game is that there's a game master there to fix anything inconsistent because the rules are supposed to be infinitely open-ended.
Right.
They should need less fixing.
You would think.
Because there is a human brain that can fix them on the fly.
But look, if that were true, okay, if that were true, that there is a human brain at that table who can fix things on the fly, who can handle the information and deal with any discrepancies as they go along and, come up with, say, a house rule or whatever for it, then we have to take back a lot of stuff that is just in the rules. Agreed. Okay, we have to stop and say, okay, wait a minute, wait. we don't need official versions of, say, one of those dumb things called Warforged. Because a GM can just make one up.
Well,
and it can be equally as valid as any other. So we can get rid of all that. We don't need to go to Eberron because a GM can just do it.
No. See, that's not what I'm saying here. And I will not be a party to that slippery slope argument that ends up with the, well, then why don't you just buy a blank notebook because you don't need a role-playing game at all?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Because this is the thing. If they're creating new content where, like a race needs a certain amount of things to be functional in the game, right? You need ability modifiers, certain abilities. It's got to be balanced, all that stuff, yada, yada, yada.
It can all be versions of elves.
Right. Well, I'm fine with that stuff existing and them putting that stuff out. And I think that actually is a good thing for them to do, is to add more options to the game and more features, and worlds and stuff are all fun. But what we're talking about is fixing problems in the rules.
Right. Like the Ranger.
Like stealth is misworded. I'm not even saying like a badly designed class.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because we did have the discussion about whether classes should be played or not, and how often, right? But and I took the position that obviously if you're designing the game, you want to put your design resources into stuff that's actually going to be used, or else it's wasted, right?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
On the other side of that, though, is if you publish the game and you let a class get through that sucked and nobody wants to play it, you could fix it, sure. Or at this point, because you're not going to get back the resources that you put into designing the class in the first place, you just shrug and say, I guess, no one wants to play the Ranger. Oh, well. And then just keep going with whatever else you were going, and just not design any content that expects Rangers in the party. Like, don't do any Ranger-based adventures. Because at that point, the resources you put into designing the class were sunk cost. It's stuff you'll never get back, so just let it go. Okay, but what I'm talking about is fixing rules here. Okay, stealth is misworded, or, like a Ranger ability that allows you to, a monk ability that allows you to do a certain thing with an unarmed strike, combined with a feat that allows you to treat a certain weapon as an unarmed strike, or whatever, leads to an unwanted consequence. Something like that. An actual bug. Okay?
All right.
They happen. No product is going to be perfect. I just don't think we really need to fix them all, because when a DM encounters that bug, the DM should just feel empowered to say, hey, listen, I know you're really proud of this combo that you found, but here's the thing. You being able to do infinite damage in every round of combat is kind of breaking the game. So I'm fixing this, which is what we used to do. Okay. What I think happened is this. Okay. The internet made it easier and easier to get an official answer. Okay.
Sure.
It's like ruling welfare. Now suddenly you can just get it from them. And once somebody is providing something for you and you don't have to do it yourself anymore, this is like, was it out by you? Was it out in Oregon where they changed the law about whether you could pump your own gas or not, and everybody freaked out? Was that Oregon?
Sort of, yeah.
It's like, okay. Yeah. Used to be but you weren't legally allowed to pump your gas. You couldn't do self-serve.
It's jeez. Without diving into the entire thing, it's very rural areas where that applies. Okay. Where there might not be enough staff to do that.
Well, I'm just saying it's learned helplessness.
Yeah. Right.
The more someone does something for you, the less capable you become of doing it yourself. And so the fact that Jeremy Crawford jumps on Twitter and tells you exactly how to rule an unarmed strike and keeps yelling at people to do it right ruins every game master's ability to just manage the freaking game. Way back in the day, we had to handle this ourselves because we couldn't just get an answer. If we had to get an answer from TSR, you had to send a self-addressed stamped envelope and then wait for the mail. It's like an email, but 2 weeks. So you just learn to handle it. And that's part of what being a GM is supposed to be. And being able to get an answer on a rules call also makes you incapable of handling anything else in the game. That's the problem, is GMs are just not self-sufficient anymore. You've all learned to be helpless thanks to Jeremy Crawford and Mike Merle's all coming out and saying this is how you should do it. Now you can't just handle things yourself. That's why I have to write a book about it.
Right.
They made you helpless. And
soon to be available for $19.99 at local retailer.
What was the question?
I don't remember. Something about constantly updating living rules, and I don't like that word, living rules.
No,
that's a poor name for what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand what it means. What it's supposed to mean is that the rules are constantly changing and constantly adapting to the situation, and it is, blah blah blah. It's no. We're just patching. Does your favorite video game operate with living programming?
Actually, it does.
Stop it.
No, seriously. This is the way video games are done now, isn't it?
No, yeah, it is, but it's not living. It's being done. Patched. Yeah.
Come on. How many times is there an update for you turn on the play, especially now that you're a PlayStation owner. You turn on the PlayStation, you want to play your game. You're like, I have 15 minutes. I just want to, get in a quick, I'm just going to kill Diablo quick. And then, nope, I have to download an update and a system update. Now I'm updating because I had to do a balance patch, or, I had to fix a UI issue that happens to one person out in Sheboygan.
Damn Sheboyganites.
The internet has made everything worse.
But we don't go around calling them living rules. We go around calling them bug fixes and patches.
I think actually when it hits that point, we call it perpetual beta. Oh, no, we used to call it perpetual beta. Now we call it Steam Early Access.
Oh.
Permission to never finish your game.
Getting your shots in early, huh?
Right, yeah.
All right. Well, I hope that was some sort of answer.
We sure did talk a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The Bound Fenrir asks in the comments on episode 52, I recently acquired a copy of Overlight, a kaleidoscopic fantasy RPG. It's words, not mine.
Mm-hmm.
In it, 2 of the 7 playable races have strong ties to each other. The Zennith, because that's not going to be Zenith, that Zennith Order monks, and the Hamana monkey people create 1-to-1 spirit bonds. Okay, I think I understand that. Mm-hmm. Create 1-to-1 spirit bonds, becoming lifelong compatriots and friends.
One Zennith and one Hamana are spirit bonded together.
Right. In the character generation rules, if you pick either of these as your racial option, another player at the table must play as your spirit bound or spirit bonded companion. Okay. While I'm familiar with players working together on a shared backstory between their characters before whatever. While I'm familiar with players working together on a shared backstory between their characters before, but I've never seen this sort of thing mechanically required by the game, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on it. I think I got that sorted out.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're going to play the game and those are the rules of the game, then you follow the rules.
You're a great one to ask for opinions.
I am. Because they're succinct and clear.
So how do you feel about this? I feel like it's how you have to do it.
Yeah.
So who cares?
I mean, well, to a certain extent, yes. I mean, that is part of the implied contract between you and the game.
Mm-hmm. No,
if you're going to play the game, then you have to play by the game's rules. Otherwise, you're not playing the game.
The Bound Fenrir, I'm going to help you out here. Okay. Now, Brian,
he says that, but he doesn't mean it.
Let me ask you a follow-up question to your previous opinion of those are the rules, suck it up, Buttercup.
Yeah.
If those were the rules of a game you were playing, or if you saw those rules in a game, do you think they would be a positive or a negative addition to the game?
Oh, well,
qualitatively, how do you feel about them?
So interestingly enough, Overlight was one of the games I got to look at, but not try out at SHUX because it's an RPG and I was running basically
And you were only allowed
one
to
of
do
the
board
few
games there.
Yeah. But it was there, and I paged through it briefly. It's a very colorful book, has very neat artwork, by the way. Just thought I'd point that out. I don't care if you've got somebody that you think you can work with to make those sort of paired characters happen. And really, we don't care. We don't care if it's spirit bonds or super glue. They're just two characters that are going to work closely together.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got somebody you can do that with at the table, I don't know, maybe your girlfriend or your wife or your husband or your, whatever it is.
Or just a platonic friend.
Or a platonic friend, because I understand those occasionally play games and don't hate each other. I
understand you don't do platonic friendship, but.
Yeah. But, I can't see any reason why you wouldn't. I mean, well, I can, because I could see where you're forcing the choice on somebody else. But I would presume that there are adults at this table, or people pretending to be adults at this table, who will have talked this over beforehand, before just randomly deciding, no, you have to be a Hamana because I'm being a Zennith.
Well, right, I think that's sort of implied here.
Is that implied?
You get to say, well, now I demand someone play this, instead of you and another player reach an agreement that you will together play these two characters.
Yeah, I don't think it's a problem if that happens. And if it works within the game, and the game has a qualitative reason for that, rather than just it looks funny or seems neat or whatever, then I guess it's all right. But if it's the kind of thing where there's no real relevance to it in the game itself, and I would say it probably doesn't need to be in there then. That's it. That's all I got. What do you think?
I think it looks neat.
Yeah?
Seems neat.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. I think they did it smart. If there's 7 playable races, which is a lot, and 2 of them carry this weird requirement.
Right.
So there's 5 races of opting out of this spirit bonding stuff.
Right.
Which makes it opting in. It's not like, there's 6 such races, and then if you don't want to be a spirit bond, you can play like the dud race.
Right.
You can go over there and they'll play the rat people in the corner.
Yeah, the rat clan.
Yeah, so I think that's a smart way to do it. I think it just my only concern with it, and this is just a minor thing, because obviously I agree with you 100%. There is absolutely no problem with 2 people agreeing to do this. And if that's what these 2 races are, well, then, there's plenty of other choices. That said, the fact that of the 7 playable races, there are only 2 like that, makes it seem like it would be neater if it was a core feature of the game. And because it's only 2 of the 7 races that are that, it can't be a core feature.
Right.
If like spirit bonds were this big, important thing in the world, right?
Right.
Then that could be kind of neat.
Yeah.
But it still sounds neat, and it still sounds like an easy way to do it. But it seems to me like a throwaway thing.
Does it?
Or maybe it's an art thing. Like maybe when they designed the world, they were like, you know what I want to add to this world because of some artistic reason to add this to the world? These 2 races, and I want to shape their culture around this.
Sure.
Shape their cultures around what would it be like if you were bonded to this other race like this, and how would the cultures look? That's totally fine if you're doing that for artistic reasons. I noticed that it's monks and monkey people, so we're back to Journey to the West again.
Yeah.
Is that what this is?
Kind of, I think. But yeah, it's yeah. It was an interesting looking game. I don't know that I'd necessarily want to play it. It's got it's a handfuls of dice kind of thing.
Yeah, I noticed that it has some custom D4s. I'm looking at its Kickstarter page now.
Yeah. I don't know that I need handfuls of dice anymore.
Yeah.
I've outgrown that portion.
So you're giving up on Star Wars then.
No, not necessarily. I just don't need any new ones. No.
You're maxed out. That was it.
Yeah.
Look, I learned one alternate dice system here, and that's enough
right.
for any person's life.
That's right. I don't need to go beyond that.
It does look very pretty.
Yeah, it does. It does. It looks gorgeous. But a gorgeous game is not necessarily a good game. And it might be a good game. I haven't played it. Don't know. I'm just saying. Books, covers, judging, Jolly Red Giant asks in the comments of episode 52, what's the difference between sage advice tweets and errata revisions other than errata documents being more formally organized and easier to use?
I actually have a very simple, straightforward answer for this one.
Awesome.
Sage advice are clarifications. Errata change the rules.
Okay.
And the only reason I threw this in the notes is because I saw this and I'm like, oh, there's actually an answer to this one.
Oh, I see how it is. You only pick questions with answers.
No, I thought it would be nice to have one question that we can just answer definitively. But that is why sage advice is to clarify something. It doesn't change the rules. Errata actually changes or corrects a problem in the rules. At least that's how it should be. I know the sage advice people sometimes push beyond that.
Okay. I guess that's the answer. Fred wrote to me in an email a couple of times, actually. I believe
the
Fred,
same one email?
No. This is the Fred, I believe, who asked us some time ago about the Open Legend system.
Uh-huh.
And I think at the time the question wasn't exactly clear. I'm not sure. I don't remember. Maybe. But anyway, he's boiled it down to what do we think of the Open Legend system? And unfortunately, the answer is neither of us have played it.
No. I keep intending to check it out. I really do. It's on my list of books I would like to have on my bookshelf and never end up playing.
Yeah.
Because that's like all the books you end up with.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay, so but I also did want to take a moment to thank him for pointing us to the Mistborn intro rules for the Mistborn game. Much appreciated, Fred. You didn't listen, or it wasn't out yet. Our review of Mistborn wasn't out yet when you sent those, so. I'm not gonna say, hey, Fred, you need to listen to that or anything. I'm just gonna say thank you, Fred, for sending those along. And
they have been noted.
I will just move on from there. Oh man, find a way to get in trouble, huh? Anyway, thank you, Fred. Talon, how do we want to do that? I had a kid when I worked at the boys' home whose name was Talon, and it was spelled like that. So I'm going to go with that.
Okay.
That's Talon. Okay.
Wasn't that the baby gunship in Farscape?
Sure. Okay. Maybe.
Yeah, because the spaceship gave birth to a baby, and it turned out to be a gunship, and they named it Talon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I think it was named after one of the characters' fathers. Anyway, I'm helping.
That's what you're doing, all right. He says, I'm unsure if either of you have played the game The Binding of Isaac. But if you have, I'm not really into those sort of S&M kind of games. I don't really. But if you have, in which system would you choose to run a short Isaac-themed tabletop campaign? I'm considering World of Darkness due to the elements of supernatural mechanics and horror themes. Wait a minute. I have not played it.
Okay.
Therefore, I have no opinion on what system would be best.
Okay.
You may proceed.
All right. Binding of Isaac is a Legend of Zelda-esque dungeon exploration game, but it is procedurally generated, and it is filled with biblical overtones.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's based on the. Was it? I think it was. Who was
on the Book of Isaac?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, the mother in Binding of Isaac, the mother is being communicated with by voices she thinks are God, and they demand that she kill her son or lock him in the basement or something, and she does so. And then he journeys through the basement and then fights all sorts of things. And it's one of those games that thinks it's way more symbolic than it is.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's so deeply meaningful. Look, this is clearly a character with a fetus attached to it by an umbilical cord named Gemini. What could it be? Could it be Isaac's unborn twin brother? Ooh, like what? Please don't link me the wiki or anything else, because I do not care.
Doesn't care.
Okay, I don't care. Okay, I don't care who Gemini was.
I also, just to make sure we're clear on this, don't care.
Don't care. Okay.
Don't link it to me because you can't link it to him.
Okay. Here's the thing with doing a role-playing game of Binding of Isaac. Okay? It's a dungeon crawly adventure game. It's Legend of Zelda. So whatever game you would run Legend of Zelda in, that's what you would run Binding of Isaac in. Except
I wouldn't.
Except clearly you don't care. You clearly don't care about the gameplay elements of the game, because you're more interested in the horror themes and all of this stuff. And then you can run it in whatever you want, because you're not going after the gameplay. It's
Okay.
at the end of the day, it's just wander around in a dungeon killing monsters. That's what the game is actually about. Everything else is just theming. I don't even know how you would begin to do this, though.
You don't?
Yeah, I really don't. But then I didn't. Was it a second? Was there a second Binding of Isaac released, or was it just a remake of the first one? Now I don't
have that answer for you.
All right,
you're on your own. Good luck.
I don't know. Do you just want people wandering around in a basement surrounded by poop and killing monsters? Because there was poop in the game. I'm not just being facetious.
Oh, was there?
Yeah, for whatever reason, instead of rocks, you know, like grid-based dungeon games, they have little like fiddly bits that block your movement, like trees and rocks and stuff. Instead of rocks and trees, for whatever reason, they used poop. And that's just because, well, it's the designer. It's what's his name? McMillan, Ed McMillan.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He came up from Newgrounds.
Oh.
Okay, so he's, you know, that's
he's like the one person to make a career out of something he did on Newgrounds.
He was the only one who could actually design decent games.
Yeah. Okay.
but yeah, so it was all like poop jokes and weirdness.
Oh boy.
In Flash. Anyway, it's a Legend of Zelda roguelike. It's just wander around the dungeon killing thing. So yeah.
In as much as you can get a system to do that, do that.
Yeah. Well, that's D&D right there.
In the ongoing saga of determining whether there is what we owe the gaming community by being gamers, in the ongoing saga, we have returned to another installment. I know what the point of this discussion, this particular piece of discussion, is going to be, but I want to start with a piece of feedback we got over on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the reasons I decided to move this topic up to the front of this discussion is because we got numerous feedbacks that took issue with some of the points we made. And I say we, but I think I'm diffusing the responsibility because people were very upset with something I said.
Okay. So over on, let's see, which one is this? This is episode 51.
Yeah, I believe so.
Which we entitled Back to Pretending to Care.
Yeah, that sounds right.
We got a piece of feedback from a fella named MAPH12, MAPH12, on YouTube, who said, this little thing right here. There is no gaming community, only a gaming demographic. And I thought about that for a minute, and I thought to myself, you know what? Not entirely wrong.
No, actually, that I did not see that feedback. That if we can send a prize to MAPH12 for like actually gets it, at least in terms of what I was trying to say.
Sure.
That was it. Okay, because there were a lot of people, because I made the point that that there is no gaming community. That to call it a community is a misnomer. And I had a lot of trouble putting into words as to why. But a lot of people took issue with that because
yes, they did.
Because they are all a part of this community. And that's human. You want to feel like you belong, right? I mean, we all want to feel like we belong. Humans are inherently tribal. We have a need to be a part of an in-group. It's biologically hardwired into us. And so we build these tribes around ourselves so that we feel like we belong, right? And I mean, there are big tribes like nations and societies and cultures. And then there are small tribes like the gaming community. And I'm not going to talk about nations and cultures and societies because we don't want to play that game, you know? But I thought a lot about the whole community. And that actually, it was after we got done with that discussion and we were talking about this off the microphone or off the recording afterwards, that we hammered out that idea of confusing passion for duty,
right? Which
is kind of what I want to discuss. This is the question that I want to pose, or the idea that I want to discuss here, right? So you identify yourself as being a member of this community, this gaming community, right? And when you are a member of a community, you know, when you accept membership, you get certain benefits from being a member of that community, right? Whatever those benefits might be. But in return, you also accept a responsibility to the community. You accept some kind of duty, right? You know, if you're going to be a part of the community, you have to some extent, sacrifice some of what you want for the good of the community, right? I mean, that's what being in a community means. You get the benefits of the community, but the community expects things of you.
Sure.
Right? Now, does that, like, have I said anything yet that you would argue?
I don't think so. Not yet.
Okay.
I'm waiting, though.
Yeah, because here's where I go with this. Okay. Necessarily, a community, to be a true community, must have some set of shared values.
Oh.
Okay, there must be some shared values or principles common to all the members of a community around which they can organize. Now, they don't all have to think the same way, right? Like, everything doesn't have to be in agreement because nobody is in 100% agreement with anybody else. But there has to be some core set of shared values because that is what gives definition to your duty as a member of the community. Take, for example, a bowling league, right? There is this agreement. You join the bowling league, you have to pay your dues, and you agree to show up at a certain time every week, abide by the rules of bowling, and try to help the team win.
Right.
You know, do your best to help the team win. In return for that, you get whatever it is you get out of being a part of a team. You get to be a part of the team, you get a fun shirt, you get a thing to do every Wednesday night, whatever it is that, whatever those benefits are, those come at the cost of your duty to the community, which has a set of, in this case, very simple rules. We all agree we value bowling every night on Wednesday and trying to win at bowling. So to that end, everybody who wants to be a member of this league, a member of this team, agrees to show up on Wednesday night, bowl, and try to win to the best of their ability, right?
Right.
And if you had the one person who keeps showing up drunk and then hurling the ball into the ceiling or the next lane, eventually the league would say, you know, you are not abiding by our agreement because you are not showing up trying to win to the best of your ability. You are showing up drunk, and frankly, you're a danger to us because that's a 15-pound bowling ball you're hurling around. And you get asked to leave. But that only works because there is a shared value at the heart of it, right? Now, that shared value, though, is more than just a love of bowling, okay? It's not just I like bowling. Because if I like bowling, I can just go bowling whenever I want to, right? That's it. I just go bowling. Great. You know, I want to bowl. I'll go bowl. I'll call some friends. Let's go bowling. Okay. There is more to it when you join the bowling league because you are agreeing to bowl with certain restrictions and certain rules in return for the goals of the league. Okay. And that is the difference between what I'm calling passion for something and a duty to something is that for there to be a duty, there has to be a set of shared values that it is agreed that you will abide by. And there is at least an unspoken contract there. Okay. I have a duty to my gaming group, the people who I gather around the table with every week, because I have made an agreement with them. Hey, we all want to game. And, we all agree that gaming at my table, because I'm the angry GM, is the best. So if you want to be a part of that, these are, you'll show up on time, you'll do this, you'll put your cell phone away, blah, 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 right? Whatever the rules are, right? And then you have a duty to that because you accepted that. But to all of the other GMs out there who are also running their own games, I don't have a shared set of values. At most, I have a shared passion. Hey, I really like playing games. Well, so does Brian. Brian really likes playing games. That's great. We have a passion in common, but there's no shared value there that creates a duty or an obligation. Which is why so many arguments start to happen about gamers arguing constantly. Do you have a duty to support your local game store? Some gamers think you do. Some gamers think you don't. Why can we have that argument? Because there isn't a shared value. Because it's just a fandom. It's just a passion. The only thing that unites us is our love of games. If I created an organization online of gamers to support local gaming stores, and I had a website and forums and we all made a pledge and yada, 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 then, your people are agreeing and they have a duty and we have a shared value. Whatever else we think of gaming and whichever games we think are best, on this one issue, we agree to share this moral duty, this obligation that we have decided is important. Okay. But the community is just too big and too diffuse because it's not really a community. It's just a fandom. The only thing that's shared between us is we all like games. That's my take. I realize that was just a big speech, and I'm sorry. When you're talking about something like this, a lot of times you're talking to work out what you think and what you feel.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes things will come out of your mouth that just surprise you. And then you have to go back and say, wait, do I really think that? Okay, why? And then what are the ramifications of that? Which is why it is so important for people to be able to speak freely, because that's how we think. That's how we understand what's really going on in our brains, is by speaking first.
So from an outsider's perspective,
mm-hmm.
What's the difference between, what is there a difference between seeing somebody who believes themselves part of the community
mm-hmm. playing
games and seeing someone who does not think they're part of a community playing games?
Functionally, I don't. Would you mean from their perspective? Like, if I don't quite understand what you're asking.
Okay.
Rather than me trying to babble a question out.
You know nothing about games, gaming communities, lack of gaming communities, whatever. Okay.
Okay.
You're at your Starbucks, we'll say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There are two different sets of people.
Okay.
Both of them are playing, let's say, just for ease of reference, Settlers of Catan.
Okay.
They're not the same group. They're two separate groups. Each group is playing Settlers of Catan. They may or may not know each other. Does not matter.
Understood.
Okay. One group believes that they're part of a gaming community. The other group does not. They're just gamers. They happen to enjoy gaming.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, as an outsider, know which is which?
I don't.
Here's where I'm coming from. All right. My general goal in life, or one of many general goals in life, is to not make other people look bad if I can possibly help it.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
That may or may not be yours, whatever. Okay. Whoever you are, that may or may not be a goal that you have. Mm-hmm. I will not willingly or knowingly make a group of people or individuals look any worse than they are.
Right. You will not help people look bad. They are free to look bad on their own.
So that's right. So my thing is, since I am playing a game, and since there does exist a gaming community, or doesn't exist, I don't know, whatever. Somebody believes there's a gaming community, okay? Mm-hmm. There are people who believe they are part of a gaming community.
Okay.
even if I don't,
Mm-hmm.
then my thing is I am clearly doing a thing similar to the people who would be in such a community, and therefore I have a certain amount of responsibility to be at least respectful of their feelings and thoughts, right?
Okay.
But that's a human being thing. I recognize that as a human being thing, okay?
Precisely.
All right, but it's still, I still think it applies. Do I owe it to the gaming community that may or may not exist to behave myself as if they were a real and viable thing, and that I did not want to make them look any worse than they might or might not be?
Well, okay. Here's the trouble I have with that question.
Uh-huh.
Okay. You are many, many things, sir.
Correct.
Right? I mean, apart from being a gamer, you are a podcaster, okay? Let's do it at that. You are a media producer.
Right.
Right? So if there is a situation where you are in a Starbucks producing media, and there is another group of people producing media, and I know nothing about media production, and I happen to overhear both groups, do you feel the same way, that you should be acting in a way that would not make other media producers look bad?
Yes.
Okay. And if it were a matter of freelance editors, would you still feel the same way?
Yes.
Okay. See, I think that the problem here, and I don't think this is a problem, I think it's actually, it speaks to your character, you know. And by the way, I feel the same way. Okay. That you are simply aware that people stereotype.
Right.
Okay. All human beings stereotype. You and me, we all stereotype. There's no not stereotyping. You have to. Your brain does not work fast enough that you can get away with not stereotyping. Okay. So we all stereotype. You're aware of that, and you just try to be a good person, right? Because part of being a human being means you know that your actions reflect on everybody you associate with, right? That doesn't mean that there is a media production community that you have a moral duty to. So what you're saying is you just understand that you have a moral duty to know that your actions reflect on all of the people you associate with. For whatever reason, anybody might draw a connection between you and someone else. Whether it be, oh, you're both gamers, or you're both media producers, or you're both editors, or whatever. Okay. That doesn't prove the existence of a gaming community. All that does is say you are a good person who wants to make sure that you are not making other people look bad for any reason. Okay.
All right.
But here's the problem now with that. Okay. You and I, we both share that in common. I do not want to make other people look bad by virtue of who I am. Okay.
Right.
I understand that also. So I try to be a good ambassador for anything I might be doing, whether it be accounting or gaming or whatever. Okay. In the accounting industry, okay, we have ethical standards because, you know, trust is very important. Without trust, there's no reason to hire an accountant, you know, and you're dead as an accountant if people don't trust what you're saying. So we have ethical standards that have been established that essentially say this is what behavior reflects well on accountants, and this is behavior that affects poorly on accountants. And that's based on, if people see this behavior from an accountant, they will tar all accountants with that brush, and it makes all accountants look bad.
Right.
Okay. The gaming community, though, we don't have any sort of standard like that. And apart from just generally accepted ideas of what it means to behave like a good person, like not screaming swears in front of kids in public, say, there's no general agreement on what is good or bad for the gaming industry, you know? Like, again, because there's no shared value of like, okay, this is the goal of the gaming community in the larger world, and these are the things that can get us there. Like, most people don't even necessarily, like, what is the goal of the gaming community? Like,
play games, have fun.
Right. Okay. But is it also attract new gamers?
Depends on who you think you are.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, a lot of it depends. And you're going to hear that answer every time you ask me to explain what it is the gaming community thinks about things. And that's the problem.
Sorry. Right. Well, that's exactly what I'm saying is we call ourselves a community, but we're not. We are a fandom. We have a shared passion for something. But there is another jump that has to be made before a community becomes a community. And that is a shared set of values that we can all kind of get behind and agree, okay, this is what we want to do. And just not making other people look bad is not enough of a moral rule to get behind. Okay, that's sort of like, those people who say, hey, as long as you're not hurting other people, do whatever you want, and that's a good moral rule.
Mm-hmm.
I personally feel that that's a terrible moral rule because that's aspiring to very little.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The best moral good you can ascribe to is not make the world any worse. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not enough to organize a shared value around. That's just, okay, everybody go do your own thing and try not to make anything worse for anybody else. Okay? And that's where the gaming community is. Mm-hmm. It's not at a shared value. It's not at a shared pursuit. It's not at this idea of what makes the gaming community better. The only thing it's at is, well, we all like games and we don't want to make them worse for other people. But even then we have arguments because some people think that it's worse for the gaming community if all the local gaming stores close down. Mm-hmm. And some people think it's worse for the gaming community if, online venues don't offer games as cheaply as possible so that people who can't otherwise afford games can get them, because right. You can't have both. There's a trade-off there, right? You could either support Amazon or the game store down the street, and they both achieve a different good for the gaming community. So we can't even agree on what harms the community, And that's the extent to which I say there is no gaming community. It's just a fandom. The only thing that people have in common is a passion, is a love for games. And trying to build a duty around that doesn't work. You can't build a duty around, hey, we all love this thing. You can't even build a duty around, we all love this thing and we agree not to hurt it. You need more than that for a community to exist. Yeah, and because here's the other problem. If we accept everybody who is a gamer as part of some sort of chimerical gaming community, right? Mm-hmm. And then someone comes along and is acting like a major jerk and making the gaming community look bad. And they just keep saying, no, I'm a member of the gaming community. And, everybody in the world identifies them as a gamer. What can the gaming community do? Other than just go out and kill the guy?
Yeah. Well, you can't make him stop playing games.
Right. You can't even stop him from self-identifying as a member of the gaming community.
No.
And the gaming community is so big and diffuse that you can't even get everybody else in the world who is a gamer to disavow the person, right? Even if that would be recognized. But now take the 501st, like you said. If they had someone who was going out and making the organization look bad because he was stealing candy from kids, right? They have recourse. They can issue a public statement. This is not one of ours. They can use a lot of different means at their disposal to get that person out of their number and do everything they can to communicate to the world, this person is not a part of them, right? Yeah, it's not going to necessarily be perfect. It stinks, but it's true.
Right.
It's hard to completely disavow anybody who runs around saying something that is not true. But, at least there's something you can do. I mean, that's another, I don't want to identify with the gaming community because there are too many gamers out there who I feel do make me look bad. Mm-hmm. And the problem is I have no recourse. There's nothing I can do to stop that person representing me, Nothing that the gaming community can do as a collective to stop that person representing them. And I mean, that stinks too, but it is also, this. There are people out in the world who make your profession look bad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Again, I'll go to accounting. There are accountants out there who have made accounting look really bad. And we have done everything in our power to get them out, ethical rules, you take away their professional license, jail time, whatever. But there's still a certain number of scum accountants out there who don't break the rules bad enough that we can't get rid of them. And they make all accountants look bad. And that's just part of the price of being human. And you can say that for anything. Like you could be a member of a certain faith or religion. There are certain members of your faith or religion that make you look bad by association. And there's nothing you can do because they self-identify, right? But that's on other people. Okay, that is on people who are like, so I'm sitting in the Starbucks and the people playing Settlers of Catan are, being loud and making rowdy jokes and being rude and behaving. And I sit there and I think, oh, well, that's just gamers for you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's me who is committing the moral sin there. I mean, those people are being jerks too, but I am judging a group of people based on the actions of a group of individuals. I am morally wrong to do that. Unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about that. You as the other table of very nice gamers who make gaming look good, you can't do anything about the jerks, and you also can't do anything about me other than walk over and say, hey, we're sorry those people are being jerks. We're nice people. We just thought you'd like to know, It's not gamers. It's just those people are jerks.
Right.
And maybe you'll be believed and maybe you won't. But that's part of life, honestly, because you can't control how people think and how they make their judgments. You and I are good people. We know people make judgments that way. And so we try not to make our communities look any worse or our associations look any worse.
Right.
Whatever they may be. I try not to make my family look worse. I try not to make New Yorkers look worse. And you can run down the list of everything from your social and political and moral beliefs to your memberships in clubs and professional organizations and whatever, and say, I try not to make these people look worse. I try to yada, 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 yada. But in the end, that's you recognizing that other people make bad judgments and trying not to make the problem worse. That still doesn't make the gaming community a thing.
I think that's where we're going to leave it for now.
Yeah. I'm sure by next week you'll have a rebuttal.
Oh, maybe not.
It'll rattle around in your head.
Yeah, somebody will rebut for me.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of rebuttals because what I'm saying now is not popular.
Mm-mm.
I'm basically taking away something that people have convinced themselves is a part of their identity. Sorry, you're not. You're not a part of a gaming community because there's no such thing. It's a lie you tell yourself. I broke your brain.
All right.
I'm not that malicious. But
no? You sure?
Sometimes. I don't know. Give me a week to get some sleep and catch up, and then I'll be a lot less malicious.
So this is going to go out the 1st of November.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because everything is all time is stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
So happy All Saints Day to everyone, I guess.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed your Halloween. Happy All Saints Day. I know you've never really celebrated it before, but now's your chance. Have fun. Do what you do every All Saints Day. Puke up candy. That's an official celebration, I guess. I don't know. But yes, that is where we have gotten to in today's discussion. I don't know which bucket we're going to kick over next week.
Yeah.
But it'll be one, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Maybe the gods willing, something else will come up. And we can get a week off of this again.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe
Wizards will screw something up that we could just complain about.
That'll be exciting. Your art book came out yesterday, by the way.
My art book?
Yeah, your big art book, your D&D art book.
Oh, yeah, that did look kind of neat.
Yeah, it came out yesterday. It's $50 a pop.
Yeah, it doesn't look that neat. Doesn't look $50 neat.
It is big and heavy, so it's got that going. I went to pick one up at Barnes & Noble yesterday, and, thought, okay, it's big, but then I've seen their rule books and stuff, and it's not always, I went to lift the blooming thing up, and it's like, wait a minute, I didn't bring enough hands for this. Anyway,
I'm not wearing my truss. I can't pick this up.
That's right. I don't have the back brace on. Sorry, can't move it for you. Anyway, there you go. That's what we've got for you this time. We will see you next time.